I'll call the City Commission meeting for Thursday, March 21st at 6:08. Commission chambers to order. First on our list is the invocation from Pastor Pete Tackett from Antioch Baptist Church. If you will stand for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners and Manager Ball. We pray for you all every Monday morning, and it's my honor to do that tonight. Father, we thank you for a city commission that stands for truth and fairness and equity in our city. Lord, we pray for them as they navigate some difficult days. I pray, first of all, Lord, that you would help them to continue to do things that will unite us as a city and not divide. I pray, God, you would help them to lead and make decisions in a way that we can live godly and peaceable lives as believers. Lord, I pray you would bless them with unchanging wisdom from on high as they navigate an ever-changing landscape. Lord, we know that there are legal issues that loom over our city. And Lord, we pray for them to just know the truth, because the truth will set you free. And we pray, God, you would help them to continue to lead us well through those things. Lord, bless their agenda tonight. Use them as they do their jobs, and help them to have a night that they can enjoy in their service to you in our city, I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commission, your first official order of business is to consider approval of the minutes for the regularly scheduled city commission meeting held on Thursday, March 7th,
Move approval.
2024.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner or Mayor, I would like to ask for some adjustments on the agenda, if you all will consider those. The first one is to add an item, which is a road closure for Munsey Methodist Church Easter egg hunt. I would ask that you add that to the end of the agenda. The dates for this event have changed as was previously approved, so that's the reason that we are asking to add it to this agenda.
Do you need a motion to do that, or are you going to do
I'm-
another item?
I'm wondering if we could do one more and then have one motion for both of these. The other one is to pull item 6757. This is Highland Fleet Solution under the consent agenda for police pursuit SUV outfitting. I would ask that this one be removed at this time, as there was an error in the bidding process.
I'd make a motion to modify the agenda as
Second.
stated.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
The next order of business is consideration of the consent agenda.
We do have public comment, but no one signed up.
I'm sorry,
No,
thank
I'm
you
just-
for catching that. No one has signed up for public
Okay.
comment.
All right, thanks.
We have folks that we know called in or tried to come in because they wanted to comment under items that were under public hearing.
Okay.
So we know that there are a few folks that want to speak under public hearing.
All right, very good.
Consideration of the consent agenda at this time.
All right, I will start with my left. John? Good. Jenny?
Yes, I'd like to pull 5.1.1 and 5.4.2.
All right. Vice Mayor?
Yes, I would like to pull 5.2.2 and 5.4.1.
All right.
Nothing for me.
Nothing for you. I think that's all the ones that I was going to pull too, so that should be it.
So, thank you. Item 5.1.1, I wonder if Judge Green would care to come up with us. We are really excited. Judge Green is going to tell us about a grant that the juvenile court has been awarded, and tell us a little bit about it. Answer any questions you have.
That's right. I was excited when I read this and know the value this is going to bring to your courtroom and for the parents and children who come there. So,
We are so excited. We are just really honored. About 6 months or so ago, I got a telephone call from the administrative office of the court saying, would you like to be a safe baby court? And, that's just like somebody dropping Santa Claus on your doorstep. And I said, absolutely. What we will do in this is a specialized docket within our regular juvenile court docket. We will be separating out from our regular docket Department of Children's Services cases for children between 0 and 3 years old, the families of those children. And so with those families, we will be having intensive services. We'll be having more frequent hearings. I will see each of these families once a month. There will also be a coordinator that the grant pays for. That coordinator is working hand in hand with those families throughout the month. She or he will be meeting with the families at least once a month. There's funds available in this grant to provide things that families might need that some of the families may not be able to afford. It could be a car seat. It could be old debts that keep them from going into housing. So it's just an opportunity to really focus on meeting the needs of these children 0 to 3, to reduce the time of removal from their parents, to reduce that trauma to them that results from that removal so that they can be back with loving families, or go on to a different goal for their lives. So that's exactly what the grant is going to be doing, and we're just so excited. There was 12 in the state last year, and so we're one of the ones that got selected to be a safe baby court for this coming year.
When does the grant begin?
I'm sorry?
When does the grant begin? I mean, when would you be able to start recruiting
We
and all?
tomorrow. Assuming you all approve the grant, then we can go ahead and notify Department of Mental Health Services, and we can start moving ahead with it.
Well, great.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So while Judge Green is here, I just need to give a huge shout out to her and her staff for the work that you all do with the juvenile court. It is, unless people have experienced it, I think they don't know everything that you offer and the heart that you give to doing it. So I just wanted to say how much we appreciate what you do for this community, what your staff does for this community, and the way that you do it is impeccable.
Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate y'all's support.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next item that was requested to be pulled is item 5.1.2. This is consideration of approval of land exchange agreement with 724 LLC for property on State of Franklin Road. We have Jason Miles and I think Wallace McCullum here to speak about this. And I don't know if there's a specific question or just an overview of
I think you
this.
said 5.2.2 instead of
5.1.2, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had a question about that earlier.
What about the 5.2.2? But
But
if you'll
that's
tell us
fine.
about
Yeah.
5.1.2.
Oh, my apologies.
That's okay?
wrote
I
down
meant
the
to
wrong
pull that
place.
one.
Thank you for saving me.
Good evening, Commissioners, Manager Paul. So this, the land exchange is to accommodate the new pond that we're going to construct with the West Walnut project over there at the Cherokee Road Extension and State of Franklin. I'll let Wallace, who can speak to some of the details about that, come up and say a few words.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So one of the goals was to try to add additional stormwater management as you head east of that area along State of Franklin. There's kind of a strip down through there. Some of it's low. That's going to have stormwater anyway. And so we wanted to try to include some of that. Tennessee Hills, their property. And we still have to get some others if we wanted to try to expand that and connect it all down through there. So it kind of helps the overall project to add this stormwater in it. Now for the the property owner, and he's here tonight if you care to hear from him, we were going to give him 12 feet, which would allow him to do some outdoor seating. If he's thinking about restaurants, I believe in that area, would allow some outdoor seating, and we would have a path, an 8-foot trail that would run along that edge of the pond. And so it would be in conjunction with that. It would probably work real well with the pond in terms of all the landscaping and stuff that we plan on doing with that. So he would be here if you want to ask him any questions.
I don't know if Commissioner Wise has any other follow-up questions.
I feel like you got all my questions.
I do have a question. I was reading through some of the contractual language in the land exchange agreement, and there was, on page 2, there was like a $10 in cash type
I think
exchange, and I just wanted to know why $10. I know
cash.
it's kind of an earnest money or something.
I think that's an attorney thing.
Okay,
Good answer.
okay.
Thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it.
Take it out.
Okay, I'm going to get this one right. 5.2.2, is that correct? This is the ITB, the bid for trucks, and I'm going to ask our Public Works Director, Mr. Miles, to address this issue, roll-off collection vehicles.
The purpose of this particular bid is to replace a backup truck that we have, a roll-off truck that, the engine in that truck needs to be replaced. It's burning so much oil. And, my understanding is that the engine would cost well over $100,000 to replace it. So, you know, at that point, it's better to go ahead and mothball it. But what we do is as part of the fleet management program, is that we buy new vehicles, we put those into service, of course, and then the still good running vehicles, we move to the backup line, you know, in case they go down, we've got those as backups, and then we mothball the ones that are in really bad shape, like this particular vehicle. So this is replacing one that's really just done. And then one of the others will be moved to, I'm sorry, this one will replace that and go into service. But that's kind of how it works, is we put the new ones into service, and then we move the ones that are still pretty in good shape, you know, to the backup line, and then we get, you know, we mothball the ones that are just shot. So that's the case here.
Was this a budgeted item already?
I'm sorry?
Was this a budgeted item?
So this is part of our regular fleet replacement
Okay.
program. So this one, we had been targeting for a while to replace. So again, there's too much work to be done in repairs to keep it running at this point. So,
Do you have a plan to expand the fleet with population growth and development and waste and things of that sort?
Sure, good question. We're working on that. Right now, we're really targeting replacement of vehicles that, you know, we know are coming of age that need to be replaced. So we're not targeting at this time over the next year adding vehicles, but we'll be replacing vehicles that are past their service life.
Okay, thank you.
But certainly will be a need for that in the future.
Right.
So we're working on those projections now.
How long is it taking to get trucks now? It's been a while.
Yeah, we recently bid some automated trucks. I'm sorry, no, those are front loaders. They're going to be about 14 months before we take delivery of them.
Wow.
Salesmen promise a lot. We actually had one come forward and promised to deliver one, you know, within a few months of that bid, but there's some trust issues there with honoring that, and also it's going to cost $100,000 more. So we can wait. You know, it's better to follow our protocol, low bid, that sort of thing. But yeah, you get all kinds of answers from the salespeople for sure.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you, Jason. The next item that I have written down is 5.4.1, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
This is the RFP for Highland Partners. I think we have Alicia Summers, our Economic Development Director, here. And she's worked alongside Tish Oldham and Randy, our Assistant City Manager, as well. So thank you, Alicia.
So, good evening. This is a request to enter into a contract with Highland Partners to conduct a highest and best use and market and financial feasibility study for the John Sevier Center and the Downtown Center.
Specific question.
Yeah, so I was wanting to know, has this price increased based on what we were originally told earlier, and if it has, why?
It has, and because we added the component for the developer solicitation and selection, if we need to utilize that component.
Okay. Is this particular outfit going to, after they get back with us, to suggest what they're thinking we should do with this, this piece of property. Are they going to solicit to their network of developers as well?
That's part of what's included in their developer solicitation. They've got a big network of developers that they work with.
Okay.
How long is it going to take?
The first
For the
phase,
study?
which is the highest and best use analysis and the market and financial feasibility, they've got 3 months on that section.
All right.
And they'll be working with the JCDA and the city and other stakeholders and partners.
Okay.
How long after that do you think it'll be before we send the RFP out for developers to look at?
They anticipate that portion of the process could take between 9 and 12 months. So I would say once we settle on the highest and best use and the market and financial feasibility study, they'll start that process almost immediately.
Anything else?
I would like to see like a mapped out timeline so that we as a commission can share and, you know, have a visual aid along with this. Because there are a lot of questions that, you know, I would say, I can't speak for the rest of the commission, but I get as to what's going to happen to the John Sevier after residents relocate. You know, what's the timeline, you know, and so I would love to kind of have some kind of visual, you know, project schedule as to have on hand and also communicate to concerned citizens, if that's possible.
We'll be happy to provide you with that. One thing I will mention is that we're trying to time this so that when the construction is complete for the housing component, which is slated for December of 2025, that we'll have already selected a developer. They'll have done their due diligence. Their project will be far enough along that we'll close on the property shortly thereafter, and then they can get started on the redevelopment of the project.
I think the commission's agreement that as soon, the day we move them out, the next day we start with the person doing the construction. So if we can get
I
that
think that's
working,
what we all hope.
We're all happy
I don't know
about
that it's quite an agreement yet, but it's an aspiration.
That's what I'm thinking. I think we agree that that's what we'd like to have
Yeah.
done. So, all right. Anything else?
Just one last question. What happens to this agreement if, you know, a month from now, somebody comes in and makes us a great offer that we
So
can't
we've
refuse?
talked to them during the negotiation phase, and I might have Randy back me up a little bit on this one.
They broke down, if you look at the proposal they gave us, they've got it in 3 different phases. Phase 2 is the developer solicitation, and then phase 3 is finding and helping with incentives, helping with the business administration part of it. And that's based on a not-to-exceed hourly rate up to $25,000. So when we spoke to them about breaking this down, what we wanted to do is present it to you all as a whole, but we told them that if there's some changes as we flow through after we finish phase 1, that we may do a different scope of work and redirect them in phase 2 on the developer solicitation. If we had someone who come in and made us a terrific offer, then they would help us negotiate the contract with that development firm and lead us through the process of that, and it would change the amount of money. So everything on this is a not-to-exceed cost that we have negotiation ability to do.
Good, thank you.
And we feel like phase 1 is a given, because that would help any developer who's interested in it or looking at it to have that market analysis and those costs that would be associated with whatever the highest and best use would be.
And one other thing I would add that really I think is a value add to this agreement is that it has that component in it where they'll assist us and a developer with identifying some gap funding.
Correct.
Okay. Good. Thanks.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, thank you.
And the last one, 5.4.2.
Item 5.4.2,
Yes. I'm just excited that we're going to have a new fire station to replace, I never know the numbers, the
This
number
is 4.
4, number 4. So if you could just kind of give us a recap, the timing of all this. I know this is going to be the design phase of it, but just kind of a good overview of it.
Sure.
Where it's going to be, so the public can know this.
Sure. So if this design agreement is approved tonight, we're prepared to launch right into design. Hope to have the construction documents complete and bid out and have a construction contract in place before the end of this year, this calendar year.
And the size of the new one, what's the square footage you're
86,
looking at?
we're looking at about 8,800, about roughly 8,800 square feet, 2 bays, 3 if we can afford it.
And the old one is,
Yeah, I can go over
Okay,
all that. Just a real quick breakdown of the station. The station we're replacing was constructed in 1961. I do have a presentation, but I guess with JT out,
yeah.
I think I lost that. That's okay. We have an engine company and a ladder company in that station. That is one of our busiest stations. It runs 22% of our calls. So it's a very busy station. On medical calls, it averages about almost 1,400 calls a year. 70 fire calls, actual structure fires. So it's very busy. We have 7 personnel out of that station. That station's very small and tight.
This is the station adjacent to Kiwanis Park, correct?
Yes, with a mural painted on the side of that. Our plan is to move across the road beside Henry Johnson School on city-owned land, and we're excited about that just because since I've been here, we've talked about building a new station, replacing this, and it's been a major need for us. We are looking at the station itself being about, like we said, 8,800 square feet. Big thing we have right now with the old station, we have 1 bathroom. So with male and female employees, we're having a hard time with that. We're having to basically schedule when you can go to the bathroom, and that's very difficult. And we've got to move past that. We have an open area that is the dormitory. Everybody sleeps in the same room. It's one big room. We're trying to think mental health and everything, give people a chance to get away to themselves if they want to while they're at work, if they need to have a mental break. And also, like I said, the bathroom is a major concern. Not having a fitness room is a concern for our personnel. We have one. They put the equipment in the bay beside the engines. And that's not good to be working out there where all the exhausts and carcinogens are, and we got to fix that. So we're wanting to move forward with that. We think it'll be a great thing. This firm that we're wanting to present tonight does fire station designs. That's one of their biggest projects they do. And the owner is an actual firefighter. He understands what we go through, what we need. He understands the whole process. And he's actually brought up things to us that we didn't think about, which is nice to have that. It's like, he's actually seen this in the world, and it's new to us. It's been since 2008 since we built a station. So we're excited for this, but.
Does that lot run all the way back to, what's the street in the back?
Johnson.
To Johnson, it does?
Yes.
So you would have access front and back?
The plan would be able to be ingress into the station from Johnson Avenue and only come out on the Market Street to exit the calls. And we were working with the traffic division to be able to put a pass-through there just for us to come through the median. So we'll be able to go either direction on Market Street. And we think that'll help us with the response as well. We're going to put up lights to have it there with the school lights and everything, so we'll have easy access to the road. Quickly, as far as the old station, the plan is, that's still a very valuable building. We want to be able to use that for storage for apparatus, but we'll want to put our fire equipment technician there where he can actually work on our SCBAs and everything else, but also use it as a warehouse for all of our supplies and so forth for our equipment. Right now, we've got it scattered all over the city in each station in closets and everything. We want to bring it to one central location, and that is the center of the city for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I add one thing to this, too, just so for clarification? This is for the design and construction documents, and this has already been authorized by you all through ARPA funds. So this is not any taxpayer funds. This would be paid through ARPA monies.
Construction, though, would be through our capital equipment. Capital
Construction.
projects.
The construction would be partially through that we'd have to go through the budget process. And so that'll be another decision that would have to come back to you all once we get the drawings done of what that construction cost may be and whether we've got money in general fund or capital fund or how much ARPA money goes over. So that'll be another decision that we brought to you. But going ahead and moving forward with the ARPA funds, the reason we need to do that.
Microphone.
The reason we need to do that is because these funds have to be committed by the end of this year, and then they have to be spent by the end of 2026. So moving forward with this design will not go stale. So then, once it's done and we see what the architect's estimate for the new construction cost would be, then we can sit down and see how we can manage to bring that back to you all to see if that's a fund balance request, a general fund request, or if there are other grants that are available, or whatever we could do to utilize the construction.
How long is this phase going to take?
The
Design.
design,
5 months, probably.
And are there any ARPA dollars left that can go toward construction?
well, there's about, sorry about that. There's about $1.2 to $1.4 million left after the funding for ARPA went toward the training facility. And so this cost would be about $360,000 to $400,000. It's 8% of whatever the budgeted estimate is. And we're looking at, right now, I think Brian thinks it's going to be $4 to $4.5 million. And so that would be about $360,000 to $400,000. And that would leave us a little less than $1 million to go toward the construction of the station. But one thing I would like to just make you all aware of is, as we're doing the training facility, the primary component of the training facility is the fire tower. That's what they really need to be able to complete the training and to do all the different variables of fireman training on that tower. And so we're not completely locked in on a cost on that. And while we're doing this fire training station, we need to really look at making sure that we do something that's going to last us for another 30 or 40 years. So if it means to get that training tower, the one they need and the one that will work best for them, that we take that $1 million that's left in ARPA funds and move it to the fire training station, and then come back and see if we need to issue a bond or do something to pay for the new Fire Station 4, which is needed, but it might be needed to be down the road a little bit, depending on funding. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd make a motion to approve the,
I had a
oh,
couple
sorry.
Jeez.
Sorry.
You mentioned 2 or possibly 3 bays,
Yes.
if it's affordable. So would that mean we would also need to possibly get another truck, and what kind?
No, not with this station. We've replaced the apparatus there. The ladder truck will be the next one replaced in that station, but plans are to try to move that ladder truck further north with all the growth. So that would not be in this part. So we have a new engine there. That was one of the ones that we had just done the push-in ceremony for. That will be there hopefully in service for 20, 25 years.
But so what would the third, if we're able to do a third bay?
Right now, we have a problem storing our reserve apparatus and everything. We just don't have room for it.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
that's what it would be used for. And later on with growth in the city, if we see a need for more apparatus, we would have to approach it at that point. But right now, we don't have that currently.
Thanks.
Can I make a motion?
Now you may.
I would make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and 2 seconds. Any further discussion? Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Commission, the next order of business of items under your agenda are ordinances that are under first reading. The first one is ordinance number 4871-24. This is an ordinance providing for the conveyance of an easement for a certain parcel of real property owned by the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, located on 5th Civil District of Unicoi County, Tennessee, to Allison Woodward. And we have Assistant City Manager Tribbett with us on this one.
Good evening. What this request comes back for is this happened about maybe a year ago. Request from an adjacent property owner of where we own the Buffalo Valley Golf Course on the very back side next to Marbleton Road. Owns about 13 acres that runs parallel beside of ours or adjacent to our property. And they didn't have a very good access or a ingress, egress right-of-way. And so they approached us about selling some property to them for that. But selling property is very difficult when it's taxpayer owned property and purchased property. And then plus, we were also issuing an RFP to convey the property to some, as a whole if possible, or however we can get this RFP to go through. So we met with our legal team and to see if there was a way we could give them an easement, which the land still belongs to the city, but then they would have a 40-foot wide easement that's right on the adjacent property to them that leads in, so they can build 2 houses on their 13 acres. And they're going to pay us for this. I think it's in your packet. I believe it's $3,800 and some dollars for this easement. And how we come up with that was a few years ago when we proposed selling Buffalo Valley, the 125 acres, there was an appraisal done that gave a cost of that 125 acres, and we just interpolated that down per square foot, and that's how we come up with that $3,800 to match the appraised value of the property. And it's just for the easement, but this would be a permanent easement, and it is on the back corner, so it does not impede like the flow of how the course would go, so that when we go to sell it, it will not impact whoever purchases the property. They'll just have to honor the driveway easement. It's basically what it is.
Mr. Trivett, with all due respect, I think it's
Oh, sorry.
$3,528.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The respect is noted. I'm just old and forgetful.
I just
Just want to
wanted
make sure
put that
the
out there.
minutes are correct.
That's exactly,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Thank you.
Any questions?
Any other questions?
Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioners, the next order of business is item 6.2. This is ordinance 4875-24. This is the first reading of an ordinance to amend Article 17, Section 83 of the city charter to change the number of required budget advertisements from 2 to 1. And Steve Willis is here to speak about that, Assistant City Manager.
Good evening, Commissioners. So to preface really the next 4 ordinance readings that you have before you, in order to change the city charter or amend it in any fashion, it must appear before the voters of the city of Johnson City in a referendum ballot. So this is the first reading coming before you of this particular ordinance. It will require 3 readings before, if you should choose to approve, before it would go to the election commission to be placed on the ballot in the August general election. So 6.2 involves required budget advertisements. Our charter requires 2. The state of Tennessee only requires 1. And that first advertisement required by our charter is a working budget that is not anywhere close to being in its final form. So it really provides no value to you as an elected board, nor does it provide any value to our taxpayers. It costs us about $3,500 to make that advertisement. So it would actually be a cost savings to the taxpayers by making this change.
So it would be the final budget that would be publicly
Yes, ma'am.
advertised in the
Newspapers.
newspaper, digital versions, and
Yes, ma'am. Actually, the
our
Tennessee...
website. Then, do we post it on our website as well?
I believe so, Dustin. Posted on the website as well. The Tennessee Code actually currently specifies newspaper. As we made this amendment, we just chose to put in there to comply with Tennessee Code. In the event that it's changed in the future to other forms of media, we wouldn't have to come and make another change.
I would make a motion to approve, and really the next 3 items follow along a similar logic. We as a commission have sought to do many things over the last couple of years to increase the efficiency of city government, particularly as we interact with taxpayers and businesses and citizens in general. And each of these items is really kind of consistent with that overarching goal of what we call excellence in city government, which is to look at what we're doing and ask, are we doing it in a way that makes the greatest possible sense? And so when we're running a budget notice that doesn't even have schools numbers in it, when we're running a budget notice that still our very much a working draft. I think that has the potential of misinforming the public. This is not coming at the expense of information. This is coming to clarify information. And I think similar arguments could be made about the next several items, but these are things that we as a commission can't do. Voters are going to have to do it. The end result is to make city government more responsive.
Yes, sir.
And to Commissioner Watt's point, I would like to put emphasis on the excellence in government part and being fiscally conservative. We're saving the city $3,500 by not doing these advertisements.
Saving the taxpayers
So
$3,500,
that's a big deal.
Yes, sir. Agreed.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Laps?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
And Assistant City Manager Willis, if you'll stay there, I will read the next item into record, and then you can speak to it. Item 6.3, this is an ordinance to amend Article 6, Section 31 of the City Charter to require 2 readings of an ordinance rather than the currently required 3 readings. And again, if you would just speak to the nature of that.
The vast majority of cities in this state only require 2 readings. I can't give you an exact percentage on that, but we are kind of an outlier in that regard. Another thing that this would provide, other than speeding up the process by at least 2 weeks, is that the elected board would consider any ordinance with public hearing being on first reading. So before you take your first vote, you'll hear from the public. Whereas in the current state, you have a vote first, then public hearing on second reading. So a couple of different, very positives, in my personal opinion, in regard to this change.
Yeah, I'll make a
Approval or
motion.
Second.
I think this one is really, really important. I mean, in many of these cases too, it's dealing with developers and business opportunities, and we're not traveling at the speed of business for sure. So it takes a full 6 weeks for, someone with a project to come back over and over and again. And by the third one, we're saying, are there any changes? And they'll say, no, okay, make a motion.
Well, we need to add to that too, it's coming to the planning commission. So
Yep.
you've already front-loaded this with a single meeting a month planning commission and then queued up 3 readings. So I would second your motion.
Yeah, it's like the other one, cost savings, it's quickness for the developer, and it eliminates confusion for the general public. I mean, how many times do we have people that want to speak on a request and don't understand why they can't speak on the first reading?
First reading, yes.
And so I think that will eliminate some confusion as well.
Any other discussion? Ms. Laps?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
The next item is an ordinance to amend Article 9, Section 45.11 of the City Charter to allow the city manager to authorize or to make temporary employee assignments for a period recommended by the appropriate department director and necessitated by staffing requirements.
So the current charter provision only allows the city manager to make a temporary appointment for up to 90 days. Quite often, we are making appointments that exceed that 90-day period. And I'm going to use the fire department as an example here. So let's say, for example, you have a district chief that for whatever reason is on FMLA. So in order to replace that district chief, a lieutenant moves up into that slot, a driver engineer moves up into the lieutenant slot, and a firefighter moves up into the driver engineer spot. If that district chief is out for a period that exceeds 90 days, and quite often folks might be if they have a serious medical condition, then by charter, we have to go and make a second administrative change on day 91 to be in compliance with our charter, which is just an unnecessary administrative burden, quite honestly. So this would give us the ability to match the staffing requirements without a waste of time and administrative effort for no value.
So moved.
Has a motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Ms. Laps?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Next is ordinance number 4878-24. This is an ordinance to amend Article 23, Section 126 of the city charter to move the election date for city commissioners and Board of Education members from November state, federal general election to the August municipal and county general election.
So I want to thank Dr. Barnett and Board of Education Chairman Kathy Hall for being here tonight. Should this change occur through a referendum vote, it would affect the Board of Education members in addition to the City Commission. So what you have before you is to move the election from the current November date, which is the federal, if you will, election, back to the August, which is a more localized county-type situation. The thought process being the national scene has a tendency to dominate the November election. The August can be much more localized and focused on local issues. So that's the change in the amendment that we have in this particular item.
I would make the motion to approve, and I would say this. I've run in the August election and I've run in the November election, and it's confusing, I think, to voters that I remember a time several years ago where there were Bob Cantler for school board signs up, and they were no sooner taken down than there were Kathy Hall for school board signs, and it didn't make any sense that we just voted for school board a month and a half ago. And it was because we're electing one school board in August, the county school board, and the city school board in November of the same year. We're electing county commissioners in August, but we're electing city commissioners in November. And I think it just sends very mixed signals to voters. I also think we often lament poor voter turnout of city residents in county elections, and making a focus both city and county to say August is the election where all of the things that hit home happens is paramount. I mean, this is just a critical change, and so I would wholeheartedly make a motion.
Second that, and in addition, I think, originally it was moved in one of the, to November from May or April for a cost savings. With this potential move, the cost savings have been recognized. There's no additional cost or anything.
Correct.
It would be the same savings that we recognized previously.
You're exactly right, Commissioner Hunter. Previously, it was a special election, if you will, which was at a $75,000 cost, if memory serves me right. And of course, that's already been realized with the move to November, but there would not be any additional administrative costs with this change.
Yeah, the April election was city only, and we had very low voter turnout. And that was one of the driving things to say, can we move it someplace where we're going to get, higher participation? And I think we gained that from November, but it does get kind of, brought into a lot of national issues that are going on.
And I don't think we lose it moving to August, because the August election has significantly better participation than we had in April.
We just need to really focus on higher voter turnout. We want everybody to get out and vote.
This will affect the primary for the school board also, though, correct?
Yes, it would.
So they'd be moving the primary to earlier, and then the general election for local will be in August.
Correct. So, again, should all this be approved by the voters, there would be an extension of terms for certain seats on both boards. So there will actually not be an election in 2026. It would be moved forward to 2028. So that would be the first year that the Board of Education primary would be affected. The primary would occur, I believe it's in May, and then or perhaps it's earlier, March, I believe.
March. Yeah, I think they just had it.
Yes,
for the
and then
county.
the election, general election, if you will be held in August. Yes, sir.
So all of these items, through 3 readings that we have, then would go to the public for, on a referendum, and that would take place in August?
Yes, ma'am. That's the
this year.
intent. That's the intent. Our deadline to get this to the Election Commission is May 7th, so we'll be well in advance of that. As I understand their process, it will go through their legal group in Nashville. And we've worked with MTAS and our legal folks to ensure that we've got this properly noted from a legal perspective. Then the wording would be placed onto the ballot in August for the voters to decide.
Well, and I guess what makes this important to me is, much like several years ago when I first got on the city commission, we were appointing people to boards and committees willy-nilly, just like 1 month, might be appointing somebody to JCDA, and it was confusing to the public when to apply to things, to be involved in the city, and we got low application turnouts to serve, and we changed that to make it less confusing, and we appoint boards twice a year, and the results of that is higher participation and interest and involvement in serving. And I hope, and I think in this transition to consolidating all local elections to be together, it makes things clearer and easier for the voters to be more interested and participate in their local elections, and not show up to a November election knowing that there's a presidential election and trying to determine at the ballot box who should I vote for city commission, because they may not have been aware at that time. But now, everybody will know over time that August is local. It passed. So we've got a second, right?
Yep. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager Willis. The next items on the agenda are the ordinances for second reading, and these are second readings and public hearings. We have item 7.1, which is ordinance 4872-24. This is an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee by changing from R2 district to R3 district for property located at 1301 College Heights Road. Ms. Hodges, thank you for being here tonight.
Good evening. I almost got caught talking about voting for a little too long. So excited about it. Okay, but let's talk about College Heights. We talked about this at the first reading, but just because this is a public hearing, I'm going to hit the highlights very quickly. So if you have additional questions, and also if we need to come back up for the public, we can. The site is on College Heights and Southwest Avenue. It is an existing house. And this house used to be a duplex. And so you'll note that in our land use map, that is how, when it says multifamily, it means that it was a duplex. Basically, the only thing that they would like to do is to reestablish the use. The use went away for a while, and so they lost the vested right. They'd like to reestablish that use and put it back as a duplex. And to do so, they need to move from R2 to R3. And that is the crux of the issue. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Public hearing.
Public hearing.
Gotta hit him.
So we'll hold on to that for a minute. So
Cool your jets. Cool your jets.
I will open the public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak for or against this, please approach the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to talk, and we'll recognize you and call you up if you'd like to do that. So open the public hearing. Seeing no one, close the public hearing.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
The next item is item 7.2. This is ordinance 4873-24. This is an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee by changing from I-2 to B3 for property located at 2203 McKinley Road. We have our Development Services Director, Will Ryder, here.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ms. Ball. This is a request to rezone a portion of the old Burlington Mill property from I-2 to B3 to allow for a mixed-use development consisting of 773 residential units, commercial uses, and a good deal of open space. This property, this is the medical center. This property is situated at the intersection of McKinley Road, West Walnut. I know all of you are familiar with the site. The current building, Brush Creek, runs under a portion of the current building. So with that open space, during the demolition of this building and the plan that they're proposing, that open space will be centered around a creek. a very similar concept probably to our existing Founders Park downtown, with pedestrian walkways and pedestrian bridges to cross the creek. Concerning the zoning, this is a split zone lot. This is the entirety of the lot. This is a zoning line. The eastern portion of the property is already Zone B3, allows for the uses that are currently there. This site is, western portion is industrial. This is the portion they're requesting to rezone. The future land use map, you can see that just south of the property, there's a good deal of calls for residential development. This calls for commercial development. The B3 is a unique commercial district as it allows for single-family, multifamily, duplexes, as well as the various commercial uses. A look at the current zoning that's out there now. Again, this portion of the property is already B3. Sort of glossed over this slide in the first presentation, but if you look at the surrounding uses, we have R6 zoning that's currently there on a vacant lot. That could be developed at 25 units per acre. R3 zoning, 7 units per acre. R4, 14 units per acre. So the use of having this many multifamily along with the commercial really is compatible, we believe, with the current zoning. Look at the concept plan. You can see this is the open space that I was explaining a few minutes ago with the creek. There are bridges on here. These are the residential structures, a parking garage. It permits, you can develop at 35 units per acre in the B3 that would allow for the 773 units that are depicted on this concept plan. They're depicting the required buffer between the development and the single-family houses. They're proposing 40,000 square feet of commercial development, which would be centered around this square here, and they have more than enough parking to meet our parking requirements. The current land uses that are out there now, the 110 dwelling units, there are 110 dwelling units. Those that are situated in the I-2 are not currently allowed under the current zoning code. They're non-conforming. The retail that is in that portion of the building is non-conforming. The mini storage is conforming, and the Night Owl Circus Arts is currently a non-conforming use as well, which we'd categorize as an amusement or recreation type of facility. Just concerning the proposed uses, the B3 allows the requested multifamily dwellings and the requested retail. The I-2 does not. You can see it's very limited with the commercial uses and only allows for security housing. There will be anticipated, it'll be necessary to upgrade utilities with all of these proposed, with the proposed development, some of which will be required because of the anticipated traffic requirements that we'll see in the next slide. We have conducted, or they have submitted a traffic analysis. Our traffic engineering manager, Anthony Todd, has reviewed that. There's an increase of 147, they're anticipating an increase of 147% of traffic, which yields anticipated improvements. So traffic signal at Walnut Street and Antioch, eastbound and westbound turn lanes, deceleration lanes, an eastbound left turn lane off of Walnut onto McKinley, right turn lane off of Walnut on the State of Franklin, and a second westbound lane, through lane on Walnut Street will be extended to McKinley Road. Mr. Todd is here tonight if you have more specific questions about the traffic. We held our required neighborhood meeting back in December. 54 citizens signed the attendance log. They spoke there. They also spoke at the public hearing that the Planning Commission held. There was one, predominantly, they were citizens affiliated with the Night Owl Circus Arts. They were not in favor of the proposal. The owner of the Pike House Coffee, who's a tenant in that facility, did speak in favor. This is a list of the concerns. I read each one of them at the first hearing. There were a lot of concerns about the current lease. Would existing businesses be grandfathered or given an opportunity to stay in the new development, rent prices, environmental concerns about the plant, which of the demolition of the existing plant, the fact that it was an old plant, all of that will be handled properly through permit requirements by the state and by the city. The impact on traffic, which is a land use issue, affects the land use, which we have the traffic study, and Mr. Todd can speak to that. This is a land use issue. As this commission knows, we as the staff believe that this is the highest and best use of the property. The Johnson City Regional Planning Commission voted unanimously, recommended approval for this project. There are a couple bridge plans supporting projects or points that deal with infill development. The need for infill development, this certainly meets those. Specifically, the staff's reasons for to recommend approval on this is that the current I-2 zoning does not permit the majority of the current uses or the proposed uses. The B3 does permit the majority of the current uses and all of the proposed uses. The multifamily and commercial zoning uses are appropriate on collector streets, the majority, which West Walnut and McKinley are. The majority of the lot is currently zoned B3, so rezoning this portion of the property eliminates the split zoned lot. The proposed uses are compatible with the land uses and of the subject and surrounding properties, and the proposed zoning is compatible with the future land use map. Happy to answer any questions. I know the developer is here, as well as Mr. Todd.
Do you know if this would qualify for brownfield because of the Burlington plant being there, on getting a grant from that to help on the deconstruction of the building?
I've not looked into the brownfield requirements on this particular project, but
And that
it's
would be an
possible.
issue for the developer, right?
But I didn't know if you had the knowledge to know if this land would be.
Old industrial sites typically do.
Yeah.
But we'd be curious to see if the developers
I
looked
would
into
say
those
the
requirements.
developer's done an environmental study, at some point in time. I know that's a long way down the road, but I'm really interested in the traffic light at Antioch and West Walnut. That's a T intersection right now. Will a drive or a road come out of this new project and make that a four-way?
I think I see the cavalry coming here.
Okay. If it does, that's great.
It does line up with the Antioch Road, so they would be a benefit on both sides.
Perfect, thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you.
You had to walk all the way up here to say that.
If there's nothing else, I will open the public hearing. Again, if you want to speak for it or against it, you can come forward. I will open the public hearing. Please state your name and your address, and you've got 3 minutes.
Is that all three? Oh, my goodness.
I'm sorry.
Felicia McKee, and my address is 2203 McKinley Road, Suite 295. I live at Burlington, also work there. So I thought you might appreciate a perspective from a tenant. For the last 4 years, I live, work, eat, sleep in that building. I'm pretty much there 24/7. I'm all for the rezoning. To try to be brief, I took some quick notes, so I tend to get long-winded. But there's so many issues with that building. The thing is, I love it. I love the people there. I love my apartment. It's a beautiful apartment. But ever since I've lived there, this is actually my 4th apartment. Every apartment that I've moved to has had different set of issues. The first apartment, an entire wall had to be torn out because of black mold. They had to get ServiceMaster to come in and literally tear the entire wall out, bring the ozone machines in, the fans. I had to, leave for about a week. Moved to another apartment, same problem. I think the biggest problem there for the actual building for inside is just the leaks. There's constantly water coming through the ceiling of that building and where I work and where I live. Every place that I've been to, the halls, is just always wet. So when an inside of the building is wet, there's gonna be issues. There's gonna be mold, there's gonna be mushrooms growing out of the corners of the cracks in the floor. My daughter lives there also, and I'm a mother and I'm very protective. And we've had a lot of problems with, I won't just say homeless people, but it's drug addicts that come through that area. It's almost like a magnet, because part of the building is abandoned, and that building is so large. I've walked around that building, and it's a mile almost in its entirety if you just walk around the exterior of it. And it's actually scary when you get around to that back side. I'm not trying to be funny, but you could film a scene of The Walking Dead back there. I mean, that's what it looks like. I mean, it's an eyesore. There's drug deals happen broad daylight in the parking lot, almost weekly. There's always somebody getting into the building because there's so many areas of the building that are unsecure. They've tried to secure the building, but there's so many open parts. There's so many broken windows where you can just climb in the window. I don't remember exactly when it was, but maybe last summer there was someone back there in that back. It's kind of like a gravel alley in between that old water tower and the building where it's abandoned right there. A lot of homeless people and just, whoever will hang out back there and drink. There was a fire set right there, and the fire department told us if it had been too far over, the building itself would have went up. And I'm just going to say that the new owners have been very helpful, and they've been more than kind and respectful, and I appreciate everything they've done since I've lived there.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're fine. All right. Please state your name and your address for us.
I'm Greg Smith. I'm the owner of Pike House Coffee Roasters. My address is 2203 McKinley Road, Suite 101. Just real brief, I'm all for the zoning, and if you know the traffic study, you heard a number, 147% more traffic. It's 147% more people going to come by my shop. I'm all for that. I'm all for the 40,000 square feet of retail space. And just like she spoke, she's one of my employees. She works with me. So it's a lot different now that Uranium have taken over. She was going to get to that point since the building has been purchased by Sound Management. They've done everything they can to make it better, and that's what we want to prove. We want to say about Uri and the developing team here. Their vision is unreal for what they want to do with that property. I know I'm a little far off from the destruction or the demolition part, but I look at it this way. If they came on my side tomorrow, I would say, let's do it. Let's just get it done. So whatever we need to do to help the city make a determination on what to do, we're here to help. We're here to help the developers. We're here to help Sound Management. We're here to help anybody we can to make a decision to make this work. Again, I just want to just thank you all for letting me come tonight. I'm sorry I look like I just left the shop, but you all just have a good evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Most of us know you, but you still need to.
I'll still state my name and my location. I'm Bob Cantler. I'm with the Johnson City Chamber. Our address is 602 Sevier Street, Suite 101. And I'm here to say we need the housing. Some of our current census numbers just came out. In 2022, we grew by 2% in Washington County. That was about 2,600 new residents. In 2023, we just received our update. We grew at 1.7%. That's 2,300 new residents. That's about 5,000 residents in the past 2 years. Last year, we grew by 10,000 over 10 years. So you're aware of the significant growth that we've had. Housing has been our Achilles. And right now, of the people who've moved here, 44% of those are under the age of 42. So there's a lot of young professionals that are coming into the area. Housing for the College of Medicine is enhancing. Housing for travel nurses and other opportunities with the Med Center are important to us. And addressing the void and the gap that we have right now in the housing situation in Johnson City is important to us. So on behalf of the Chamber, we're excited about this project. I'm excited about any professional developer coming in and doing some projects in our community right now because it's well needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening,
Mayor Fowler, Vice Mayor Murphy, Commissioner Weiss, Commissioner Brock, Commissioner Hunter. Tonight we have in front of you our dream. I'm an architect, not only a developer, and to me it's important to create a quality of life environment, a quality of life project. This project is not only housing. You heard about the problems that exist on the site right now. Fills a void for housing. We're trying to build a community. We're trying to create something beyond that. Hasn't been spoken about much. Reclaiming a creek that runs, I think it's 1,900 linear feet of Brush Creek that is severely impaired. We're looking at incorporating that into the project, and we want to do this as one big project to build an amenity for the residents. I believe that to create a quality project, not only do we build housing with amenities, and especially a natural amenity, is extremely effective as a quality of life project. The location pretty much begs for housing. We're right across from the hospital. The university is right down the block. It's an easy walking connection between all three, and this seems like a great location for additional housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
What was your name?
Yuri Miller.
Thank you.
Thank you. And last we heard, we were 2,500 houses and 2,500 apartments behind, so this gets a lot of those back if we do this. So, do I have a motion?
Is there anyone else?
I will close the public hearing if there's no one else.
And I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I love the fact that you're, instead of fighting the creek, working around the creek. For all too long, we've tried to build a city on top of creeks, and we've discovered that that does not work.
Not very well.
And so this is a better approach.
Agreed.
Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioners, your next item of consideration is item 8.1, is to consider the approval of an interlocal agreement between the City of Johnson City and 911 Emergency Communication District of Washington County. I would just add on this one that this is a typical agreement that we enter into with our quasi-authorities that we support. This was an oversight that it wasn't done sooner. It should have been done earlier in the fiscal year, but it is for this fiscal year. So I would ask consideration for approval.
Move approval.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Item 8.2 is to consider approval of FY 2024 Tennessee Housing Development Agency application for the Emergency Solutions Grant. And we have our Wayne Lyons, our Community Development Director, here on this item.
Good evening, Commissioners. This item is just for, as you all know, for ESG, Emergency Solutions Grant. We are a set-aside community, so we don't have to apply competitively for these grant funds, but we do have to show intent to use these funds and apply just to show them what we're going to use these funds for. So this item is just to approve that application process, just so we can show our intent, and then they can move forward with reviewing this application and then approve or decline.
Mr. Lyons, I was looking at the council, the appointed council. They're the ones who review these applications and make the decisions.
Correct. I begin reviewing these. I make sure that all the applicants are actually eligible to apply for the funds, but then once I determine eligibility, I pass these on to the advisory board. They review the applications and then determine the allocations.
Okay, good, thank you.
Vice Mayor, need to say something?
Yeah. Are you done presenting, Mr. Lyons?
You want me to present the allocations as they were determined?
I was going to speak if you were done.
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. Well, I just want to make it known to the commission and all those in attendance and who are watching and viewing. I'm currently the appointed CEO and Executive Director of Good Samaritan Ministries Incorporated. And Good Samaritan has applied for the ESG funding, which along with these other qualified applicants, which will be considered by the commission today. And so therefore, I will be recusing myself from voting on this agenda item.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I would acknowledge the vice mayor and just say, you know, I'm very sensitive anytime we're voting on things like this, that I want folks to recognize that it is without self-interest that we come to all of these decisions. And in the grand scheme of things, I'm supportive of the recommendation of this committee, and I'm comfortable with the funding allocation because it's been reviewed by both staff, but then also your appointed committee, and comes as a recommendation for them. And so I'm sensitive to the appearance, but I'm also comfortable that there has been a process around it that addressed some of that. So I make a motion to approve.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
And just as a point of information, we're talking about $15,000. So in the grand scheme of things, lest anyone.
It's a nice amount of money.
Right.
To do some good stuff at Good Samaritan, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And the final item is the one that was added tonight by the commission. This item was initially approved at the March 7th, 2024 City Commission meeting with an event date of March 23rd, 2024. Due to the potential for bad weather, Munsey has requested to move this event to Saturday, March 30th, 2024. All other event details remain the same. And again, just as a reminder, this is the Munsey United Methodist Church request for closure of King Street and Milliard Street for their annual community Easter egg hunt. And again, that would be Saturday, March 30th, as opposed to March 23rd.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Just to follow on to our earlier discussion about trying to streamline government, we are in the process too of requesting that our city manager be empowered to make these decisions, that these shouldn't have to come before the commission.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
And just as a reminder, you heard the first reading of this. We neglected, we failed to put the second reading on. And so we could have, we thought about adding it, but we didn't have the 48-hour notice and didn't want to take a chance on having that mistakenly done. So you will see the second reading at your next meeting, and then the third reading of that will follow.
And it becomes effective immediately on
Immediately.
passage at third reading. Okay.
Excellent.
Anything else?
I have nothing.
All right, I will start to my right. Commissioner Wise, anything to add?
No.
No. Vice Mayor?
No, sir.
Commissioner Brock?
Of course, always.
That's what I'm coming.
Remember last week, we had Karen Hubbs here, and she was talking about this Tri-Citywide walking program. I just want to let everybody know that on April the 3rd, it is National Walking Day. And all cities are trying to encourage their residents to get out. There will be several organized walks in Johnson City, as well as Bristol, Kingsport, and out in the county areas. We'll have one at 5:30 on Wednesday at the head of the Tweetsy Trail. So anybody who wants to come, I'm going to be there. So come
What
on
day is
out,
that?
everybody. Let's
April
walk in
3rd.
your
Is that a
neighborhoods, walk wherever you want to, but this is a good way to get extra activity in, and it's, everybody can get out and walk a little bit. So we appreciate it. Thanks.
Commissioner Hunter. It is March Madness, and there are some basketball games already being played, and at 9:30, there's another pretty big one with some Tennessee team playing, but anyway, so.
So are
I'm
you
glad we
saying
did-
you want to go watch a game?
I'd like to get out of here if it's all right. I'm gonna, if nothing else, I close the meeting.
We're done.